Hey guys, today I am returning to a glow up video, but this one is for girls and guys. I want to talk about 3 skincare tips that I think are pretty straightforward, but that if you master will greatly improve your skincare game. My first tip is to learn to exfoliate correctly. Everyone knows that you need to exfoliate your skin, but I feel like a lot of people just don't do it right, or they take it for granted as something that's so simplistic and they don't really need to learn about it. And that's actually false, because there's people who over exfoliate, and sometimes you'll see redness in the middle of their arms or on their cheeks, and over exfoliating leads to redness and irritation pretty easily because you are sloughing off skin cells faster than those skin cells are able to regenerate themselves. And then there's people who do the opposite, who don't exfoliate often enough, and you'll see those little bumps on their arms. It kind of looks like lighter than their skin color, or even on their cheeks, and that's usually just dead skin buildup, and it's your dead skin cells are clogging your own pores. I have exfoliated my arms till they bled before. I've also neglected to exfoliate them and seen them get bumpy. I think I found a sweet spot. So my sweet spot for my skin, which is pretty combination. I get a little bit oily in my T-zone, but for the most part, I am very dry. My body's very dry especially. So I think the sweet spot for most people probably is to exfoliate your body twice per week. The biggest thing you have to keep in mind when you exfoliate your body is not to be so harsh on your skin. And by that I mean allow the exfoliator, like the glove or the brush, to do the work. Don't put your strength into it as well, because that's too harsh for your skin and you can damage your skin that way. But let's say you have a exfoliator brush in the shower. Even more so if you have a scrub and you apply it to the brush, make sure you're doing small circular motions and do it very lightly, because you're using an abrasive tool to apply an abrasive scrub to your skin. So just applying it and moving it around is plenty of exfoliation. You don't need to also put force into it. And some people enjoy dry brushing. I usually dry brush more often than I exfoliate my whole body, which means you just take a brush in the shower and you make short, light strokes with the brush, and it kind of sloughs off any dead skin cells that are just sitting on the surface. It also feels really good, and some people say it's good for your circulation. Another thing to keep in mind after you've exfoliated your body is to rinse off scrubs with lukewarm or cool water, but never really hot water, because you have to think about whenever you're removing skin, you're making the skin that's still there more vulnerable. Everyone's skin renews on about a 28-day to monthly cycle, so it's good for your skin to remove the old cells, but you also have to keep in mind that the new cells haven't been exposed to the environment yet. So when you've removed the old cells, just think of being delicate. Don't take a towel and rub the crap out of your skin. Don't put anything really harsh on it. Don't use like a hair removal chemical agent to melt off your hair that same day. Don't wax the same day. Just think of it as, I need to be really delicate on my skin today. If I'm going in the sun, I'm gonna wear sunscreen, that kind of stuff. You have baby skin as soon as you've exfoliated. Even if you shave the same day, you might notice more irritation than usual, and I'm gonna talk a lot about hair removal later in this episode. So I just explained how to exfoliate your body, which is pretty straightforward, but your face is an entirely different animal. So there's 2 ways to exfoliate your face. The way that I was explaining with your body, manual exfoliation, is actually more difficult to do correctly on your face. And that's because your face is extra delicate. The area around your eyes is different. A lot of people have different skincare needs in their T-zone around like the size of their nose and their forehead than they do on the rest of their face. Your face is really susceptible to aging. So when you exfoliate your face, you have to be even more careful. And I'm noticing more and more for a lot of people, the easiest way to do that is to use more chemical exfoliants. I'm a fan of Clarisonic. I do also use a microfoliant, which is a very fine grain scrub for my face. And that's from Dermalogica. I can link it below for anyone who's interested. You have to keep in mind that your face is so delicate. You don't want to exfoliate in a way that will make you more prone to breakouts, that will make micro tears in your skin. If I hear any of you using St. Ives apricot scrub on your face, I'm gonna scream. 1, because it's full of chemicals, and 2, because the actual beads in it are too harsh, too large, and have really rough edges That scrub is known to create micro tears in your skin. If you're using a scrub on your face, make sure that the beads are so tiny and so delicate, and don't push very hard. And if you're using a Clarisonic, use almost no pressure at all and just move the Clarisonic around your face and let the bristles slough off the dead skin. If you are pressing too hard and you think it's not a big deal, it is a big deal, because creating micro tears in your skin causes redness, it causes swelling, inflammation all over your face, and it causes aging. So even if the breakouts heal in a few days, you're prematurely aging your skin by being too rough on it. Keep that in mind when you're doing any of your skincare. I always see people and say something when they rub their eyes and they pull really hard, or when girls take off their eye makeup and they're rubbing so hard. And I used to do it, but I don't anymore. I'm so cognizant of not pulling on my face. I sleep on satin pillowcases, which are very inexpensive. They're cheap. Silk is expensive, satin is not. And it's the same effect. They don't pull on your skin. So minimize aging by being super, super, super kind to your skin, but also have your best skin possible by exfoliating in a kind and sustainable way. And just to summarize exfoliating, your body twice a week. You can use a scrub. You can use your hands with a scrub too. And you can use a dry brush. You can use a mitt. Just make sure that you're not applying too much pressure. Circular motions, and after you're done, be extra kind to your skin. For your face, I recommend chemical exfoliants like AHAs. There's so many types of chemical exfoliants out there. And I'm not talking about chemical peels, I'm talking about skincare products that slough off dead skin cells. And it might be your best bet to get a gentle daily exfoliant. Just like I said with your body, that your skin is more vulnerable after you've exfoliated. Keep in mind that this new skin is also in its prime to receive awesome skincare. So once you've exfoliated your face, that will be the day that you make sure that you do a mask or you apply a serum or something restorative, and your skin will love it. So I just mentioned I was going to talk about hair removal. And hair removal is a topic that I have learned so much about over the years, just because I am Armenian and Egyptian, and that's a hairy mix. I've always been hairy for as long as I can remember. I'm hairy in a way that I just have a million fine hairs everywhere. So since I was a little kid, I was very fair-skinned, and I had a ton of dark hair to the point that you would just see a shadow when you looked at my arms or my legs. I was embarrassed of it from a very young age. My fondest memory is when I was 8 years old. I was in the 3rd grade, and the boy I had a crush on told me that I was hairy, and he just said it, and it was as if he said I was hideous. Like, it's the worst thing he could have said, and I was so offended by it. And I also watched the show Even Stevens, and there's an episode where Shia LaBeouf's character had a crush on his teacher, and she was so beautiful in his eyes, that was the point. And then there's a scene where he goes into the classroom early to get help from her, and she's sitting at the desk, and she has this fuzzy, hairy unibrow, and she's sitting there tweezing it as if that grew overnight. It was a nasty unibrow that would take years to grow. But she was sitting there tweezing it before class, and the implication was that she does that every day and that she's like secretly ugly. So he saw it and was horrified and repulsed by her. And when I saw it, I was about the same age, and I just had internalized this idea that hairy is disgusting. I thought it was so gross and foul, and I thought it makes you ugly. Because all of the people I went to school with in Pennsylvania were of, and by all I mean almost all, but like 98% Western European descent, and a lot of them had fair hair and fair eyes and very thin eyebrows, and I thought it was very delicate. It was also the style of the time. So I pictured that if I entered the shower and lightly used the razor on my eyebrows, that they would just get lighter and be softer. And then I got out of the shower and I had no eyebrows. And I went down the stairs to my parents, and they were sitting watching TV, and I was like, guys, and they ignored me. And then I peeked my little head out like a naked mole rat, and they were like, oh my God. So my mom just took my hair and she combed it all forward, and she cut me these thick, dark bangs that sat right on top of my eyelashes, which I wore until my eyebrows grew back. I had a few other phases with bangs too, but I just thought that's a fun story for you guys. After that, I started waxing my own eyebrows when they grew in to the style of the time, which was very thin, and that was at 8 years old. So I've been playing with hair removal, with waxing, with tweezing, with laser my whole life. When I got to high school, I heard about laser hair removal, and at the time it was so expensive because it was new technology and you had to do it in a dermatologist's office with a tech present, and the dermatologist would shoot the laser into your hair follicle and a tech would follow him with a cooling gun to cool it, and it was much more painful than now, much more time intensive, and it was like this thing I told my parents I needed, like I need this operation or else I won't be able to function in society. So I started getting laser hair removal 11 years ago, and I'm relatively hairless now, but it took a lot of time and effort. And without further ado, let's talk about hair removal. Public service announcement to any of you that are just shaving your thick virgin hair roots. Every time you need to remove hair, you need to stop. Think about it this way, you're running a blade over your skin. So that's problematic for a few reasons. One is when you assault skin with a blade or with anything, what happens? It gets calloused. So if you're constantly shaving your underarms are going to get darker, one, because you're gonna have a shadow underneath your skin. Two, you're literally hardening skin that's supposed to be soft. Think of men's beards when they shave all the time and they have that shadow and they have roughness and the coarse feeling when it grows back. You are creating that same exact phenomenon everywhere on your body that you shave. I shave now, but I shave the hairs that have been lasered and waxed for years and years and years. So the roots are already so damaged that it's not coming in thick because it can't. And keep in mind, I also have fine hair. I just have a lot of it. And the reason that the shadow is so prevalent with shaving is because you're only removing the hair from the surface of the skin and outward, and you can literally see the hair through the skin if you have a high contrast between your skin tone and your hair color. I want you guys to know that there are so many low effort methods of hair removal, and it's easier and less costly now than it ever has been to take advantage of them. I'm going to walk you through the options so you can think about which works best for you. But make sure that you check on the medications you're using because those could increase your skin sensitivity, and you have to know that before you start scheduling treatments. And as I said in the exfoliation section, also make sure that you're wearing SPF because all the treatments that I'm gonna tell you about temporarily increase your skin sensitivity to ultraviolet rays from the sun. Let's talk about my one true love, laser hair removal. Laser hair removal is so great in my opinion because it is the only permanent solution. You may need touch-ups over the years, but after several treatments in the same area, your hair is very unlikely to ever return the way it was originally. So as I mentioned, when I started getting laser hair removal, it was a whole different beast. Everything from the pain to the time investment to the price investment would have scared a lot of people away, but that's just not the case now. So the way it works now, you have to shave the area you're going to laser as close to your appointment as possible because you want the hair as low to the skin as possible. And I said shave because you absolutely shouldn't tweeze or wax before a laser appointment because you will be removing the root as well as the hair. And the way laser hair removal works is by shooting a pulse of heat energy into the hair follicle. So if the hair follicle has been removed, i.e. waxing or tweezing or epilation in any form, you're making it impossible for the laser to locate it and to destroy it. Also, if you shave too far in advance of your appointment, the laser will shoot heat above your skin because it's just gonna shoot it into the hair when it sees the hair, and you want it to go into the root so it kills the hair. And now you can get it done by a laser technician, which no longer needs to be a dermatologist. They're usually just estheticians. They just put on their goggles and shoot the lasers into the area that you designated. It's pretty affordable now compared to what it was, and the price varies by the area you live in, the type of salon, but almost anywhere you should be able to purchase a package for a certain area and negotiate the price. As with anything involving technology, it can be a little complicated because there are several different types of lasers that work better in different situations. I personally, having tried quite a few different types of laser, prefer IPL, which stands for Intense Pulsed Light. That's really hard to say, Intense Pulsed Light. And that works the way I just explained to you by shooting a pulse of heat into the skin to destroy the root below the skin. And when you get there, the technician will and should apply a cooling gel to the whole area to protect the skin and make sure it doesn't get burned in the process. Most salons divide areas into small, medium, and large, and a small area would be like your upper lip or sometimes your underarms. And a medium area would be like your arm from your elbow to your wrist, and a large area would be like leg from hip to knee and your leg from knee to ankle, or your lower back or your stomach or Brazilian. These are large areas. Obviously, they tend to be the most expensive because they take the most time. I think an appointment for one treatment for a large area from my knee to my hip would take maybe about 40 minutes, just because they section off your leg and they go and pulse as many times as possible without hurting you into each little square of the grid they create. Even though it feels casual now because you can just get it done by any esthetician, do your research and make sure you're going to a reputable place, because an inexperienced or a poorly trained technician could easily burn you. Just make sure that the place has really good reviews, that the professionals are licensed. Honestly, if you're not convinced, ask to see credentials. And that's something I wouldn't have done maybe even a year ago, but I think the fear of offending people does not even come close to the fear of hurting yourself in the situation. So if you're not convinced, you can respectfully ask if it would be possible for you to verify their license or to see it. And if they're weird about it, move on. They want the business, you know? They should say, oh yeah, here, and just show you. So up to you, but I wouldn't put myself at risk just because I don't want to ask a question that might be a little uncomfy. But I think it's kind of essential when I've seen nail salons offering it now, and they are very minimally regulated. So just look out for yourself. So some people are unwilling or afraid to get laser because they're afraid that it will be painful. I personally don't think it's painful. I think it feels like a burst of heat and someone snapping a rubber band on the area, which obviously hurts more in certain areas than others. Weirdly, the most painful area I ever got, I think, was my stomach. And I'm not sure if it was the kind of laser at the place I went to or just because it was my stomach. It was painful at the time. Just didn't want that hair shadow on my stomach. Areas like your stomach are probably less essential for most people. I think the areas that most people should look into are probably legs for women, men if you like it, but maybe armpits for everyone because the shadow is terrible, the hair is bad. There's nothing worse than when someone lifts their arm and you see chunky deodorant in their hair and you're like, ugh. Talking to you, men, especially men, it's very yucky. Don't ask women to be beautiful and put together and have chunky deodorant in your armpits. Like, I don't want to see that. But your girlfriend comes in and she spent an hour and a half getting ready and it's like, come on, catch up. So I say it with love. If you have a very low pain tolerance and you're interested in laser, just get a numbing cream. Most places are cool with it. Some places will do it for you. Usually you just apply it to the area, wait 20 minutes, and it will significantly reduce the sensation when they're doing the laser. And I'll admit to getting it, I got it before. I was really digging my nails into the table and the woman was like, oh, do you want numbing cream? And I'm like, did you have that this whole time? It was like treatment 4 of 6. So I did get it for the last 2 and wow, what a difference. If you don't feel like undergoing pain just to get a beauty treatment, get a numbing cream. It's cheap and you'll barely feel it. So something to be said, I'm recommending IPL, but I am a high contrast candidate, meaning there is a significant difference between my hair and skin color. IPL works best by targeting pigment. So if there's a very low contrast between your hair and skin color, then the laser won't work well because it won't be able to detect the hair follicles. For low contrast candidates, there's a different type of laser. It's called Alexandrite laser, and it supposedly works much better for brunettes with much more similarity between their hair and skin tones, blondes with light hair, and for olive skin tones. Then there are diode lasers, which work best for people with medium and deep skin tones. Upon researching, there's another type of laser that I'm completely unfamiliar with. It's called ND-YAG, Y-A-G. Stands for neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet. But I don't really know anything about this type of laser, so if you're interested in looking it up, go ahead. It's ND-YAG. This goes for anyone. Don't go to a laser session if you have waxed or tweezed within 6 weeks because you're gonna waste your money. Or if you recently got a tan from the sun because you could hurt your skin depending on the type of laser. The laser might think your skin is the hair. If you have a fake tan as well, it can throw it off. So I think it's best to get professional laser for core treatments, but I also think it's totally cool to DIY touch-ups. I DIY a lot of stuff. The only thing I don't DIY currently is my hair. Everything else myself, including my nails. I don't give myself pedicures, but that's because I have a spinal fusion. But I would if I could, and there's so many things we can do ourselves, like facials, and you don't even realize it. When you start doing it yourself, you're like, wow, I'm saving so much money that I can now use on other things. Let me show you the laser machine that I bought for my home. I got the iLight Pro Plus Quartz from Remington. It is a laser device. It is in the box right now, so it's super heavy. Pretty simplistic directions on how to use it. And it has a skin tone chart. So as I was saying, diode lasers work best for medium and deep skin tones, and you could hurt yourself if you have that skin tone and you buy a machine like this, because the type of laser is IPL. It doesn't say that you have to wear glasses, but I'm so against damaging my eyes for absolutely any reason that I insisted on buying them. And I'm just gonna wear them for you so you can laugh at me. So I will sit on the phone with my friends and give myself laser wearing these. And the only thing I can say is they're missing out by not FaceTiming me at that moment, because they would get to see me like this. That is all. The next type of hair removal I want to talk to you guys about today is good old waxing. So as I told you, my mom let me wax my own eyebrows since I was 8, so I'm pretty pro at waxing. I waxed for many years. The pros are it does remove hair from the root, and it lasts a couple of weeks, and when the hair grows back, it tends to be softer. So you can make hair feel softer and weaker over time by repeatedly waxing and pulling the roots. Some downsides to waxing: it's sort of painful. It can take some of your skin off with it. I've also heard that it stretches the surface of your skin over time, which can cause more wrinkles. Overall, I like waxing. It's probably my second favorite type of hair removal after laser. So the two main types of waxing you need to know about are waxing with strips, which is classic waxing when they apply soft wax to an area, and by they I mean a tech. You could do it yourself, and then use heat from your hand to make a waxing strip of muslin cloth adhere to the soft wax, and then they rip it off in the opposite direction the hair is growing. That will cause the hair to be removed from the root. It is more prone to missing hairs than the other type of waxing, which is sugaring using hard wax. When I say hard wax, I mean that the wax doesn't stay sticky after you put it on your skin. Sugaring and hard wax do not require strips. Just take the wax and put it all over the area, and then allow the wax to harden and rip the wax itself in the opposite direction that the hair grows, just as you would with strips. I personally recommend sugaring if you're gonna wax, especially if you're gonna wax at home yourself, because you don't miss hairs. So if you are brave and you give yourself a bikini wax or anything of the sort, it will hold every hair that the wax touched and remove it from the root. So you don't have to worry about reapplying the wax and pulling and trying and pulling and trying and pulling, because that can irritate the crap out of your skin, and it's frustrating and it's time consuming. When you use hard wax, you usually don't have to go back and touch up with tweezers, which I like because I like to be efficient. If you pull that hard wax off your skin, it will grip on every single hair, even the ones you can't see, and it will remove them. You cannot remove the hard wax without also removing the hair, so it's very effective. The next type of hair removal I want to talk about is depilatory creams. These last a week or so, depending. I think a little less than waxing, because I don't think they get as deep into the follicle. It depends on the type you use, but it's definitely removing it from the skin and out, but I don't know if it's going under the skin. I would hope not, because it's poison. So it definitely doesn't last as long as waxing. These are the kind of things, like if you ingest the smallest bit of it, you need to go to a poison control center immediately, and I'm so uncomfortable with chemicals. It freaks me out, honestly. I'm not a huge fan. I got chemical burns from living on Nair for too long years ago, and you have to be very careful of when you're putting it on, making sure your skin's not vulnerable at the time, and you will get the benefits. It will remove all the hair from the surface, and it won't grow in coarse as it would with shaving, but it's a chemical, and I hate chemicals. Except keratin. I have to tolerate keratin unless I want to be fuzzy all the time. So speaking from experience, as someone that did get chemical burns from Nair, I would stay away from these two. Stay away from shaving and depilatory creams. If you can wax, and if you can afford it, laser, or do it in small amounts that are affordable over time, it's just better. So my last and final skincare tip is to step up your hygiene game, because you might not realize, but it will work wonders for the quality and appearance of your skin. A huge one for hygiene is sleep hygiene. And the best thing you can do in that regard is change your sheets and your pillowcases every week. And it's easier to change your sheets and pillowcases if you have spares. I only have 2 sets of sheets, so by the time I've gone through both, I know I should do laundry anyway. I kind of procrastinate laundry because my building is historical and I don't have the ability to get a washing machine in my unit. So I have to make a whole afternoon out of it every time I want to do laundry. So I make sure that I change my sheets weekly, and at the end of 2 weeks, it's time to do laundry anyway. So when I take off the first sheets, I put on the others, and I have like 5 million pillowcases, and every time I used hair products and then slept on my pillowcase, or I felt like a little oily or sweaty in my sleep or whatever, I just change them. And I change them every couple days, and it has reduced my hormonal jawline acne. Just a tip, pay attention to your sleep hygiene. Don't get in your bed in street clothes. Don't bring food in your bed. Keep your bed as sanitary as possible and watch your face improve. Another big one is hygiene related to our skincare. So I know so many people that use expensive serums and creams on their face, but they put dirty fingers into the cream and they don't clean the outside of it. So they're repeatedly putting bacteria into it, then closing the lid so the bacteria can grow in the wet darkness. And then they're expecting that product to work as well as it was intended, and it's not going to, and it might even cause breakouts at that point, which is doing the opposite of what you paid for and what you wanted. So my best tip is to either get products that have an external pump and you don't have to put your finger in them, or for products you have to put your finger in them, use a reusable little scooper and wipe it with alcohol after, or use a Q-tip and throw it away. We always like reusable more, but either is fine. I go through 5 million Q-tips because that's how I clean up my eyeliner. Funny story, I went on a Euro trip last year with my boyfriend's family, and one of his cousins discovered I had a bag full of Q-tips, like so many Q-tips, and she was like, "Do you have a lot of like earwax?" And I was like, actually, probably have a normal human amount of earwax that I clean too often to know how much it would be. But I use it to clean up my eyeliner, so I always have Q-tips everywhere. Back to the topic at hand. Just make sure that you're not putting dirty fingers. And if you have fingernails, your fingers are probably dirty. You can't really clean under your nails as well as you think you can. Just put something clean in there and wipe the outside of the container with alcohol at least once a week so it's not building up. My next hygiene tip is for women specifically, or men who wear makeup. Never ever sleep with your makeup on. It dries out your skin, it makes your skin look older. Wearing mascara overnight dries out your lashes, makes them fall out. It builds up on your pillowcase that I just told you need to keep super clean. With all that being said, it's easier to effectively remove all your makeup, and it's better for your skin to breathe if you stop wearing heavy foundation. I don't have the clearest skin ever right now, and I'm wearing full coverage CC cream from IT Cosmetics. It's still a CC cream, it's pretty thin, but it's full coverage, and you don't see the little dots on my chin where I have breakouts, and it's still better than caking a ton of foundation on my face and not letting my pores breathe, because you're just making the problem of breakouts that you're trying to cover worse. If you can divorce your heavy foundation, I think you'll be really happy you did. Unless you're on stage and you need that thickness of makeup, I think it's fine to let it go. Another big one is wash your makeup brushes as often as possible. Monthly, probably at the least. Weekly, if you can do it when you're listening to your favorite song, or you're on the phone, or you're listening to an audiobook, just mindlessly. Same with your hairbrushes. Build up causes undesirable results no matter what. And another thing to keep in mind is your hair is constantly on your face, or swooshing in your face, or close to your face if it's really short, and you need to stop overwashing your hair. While sanitary is good for your skin, it's not really good for your hair, because your hair is made to produce an oil to nourish itself, which is why I said in my hair video that everyone needs to own a boar bristle brush without the little plastic rubber knobbies on the end, because it will distribute the oil from the roots of your hair down the hair shaft, and that will make your hair nicer. But you also need to clean those hairbrushes so that they don't have product buildup, just like your makeup brushes. And you have to make sure not to overwash your hair, because overwashing your hair will send a message to your scalp that it's dry, and it will cause your scalp to overproduce oil only at the roots. Then you're letting the body dry out because you're not distributing the oil, and you're actually doing the opposite of what you wanted, which is having oilier roots. I wash my hair once a week. My roots don't get oily until day 4 or 5, at which point I use a little dry shampoo and stretch it another 3 days. This video turned into such a longer video than I had anticipated. I thought it was gonna be kind of short. I hope that these tips were helpful to you all. I would love to know some of your skincare tips and your hair removal tips in the comments below. And as always, there's so much more talk to come soon. I release a new video almost every Thursday at 4 p.m. It would mean so much to me if you guys could like and subscribe to my channel and tell your friends about my channel if you like it, because I've found that people prefer IGTV over YouTube, but YouTube's the only way to grow the channel. So even if you're watching on IGTV, please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. It really helps me out. And that's all. So talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.